Collective, what's good? I'm your wild and free high priest. My name's Armando. Chillin'. It is the sun's day on the hour. Oh, the Jupiter hour. Cool. We have a few more minutes before it goes into the Mars hour. Wow. Look, you guys, I've already opened the channel. Thank you so much for being here. Take only what resonates, because I'm a little sleepy. I've been sleeping a lot this week. I've been working. Thank you so much. As y'all may or may not know, I'm still in the process of settling after a lot of movement, nomadic life, dare I say, homelessness. We experience homelessness in many ways. Perhaps spiritually too. Five of Pentacles, anyone? You do have this Ace of Cups, this like very flowy, feminine, nuanced, sensation. Anyway, yeah, so the feeling of being adrift. So even if you are at home, there could be a sense of homelessness as you drift away. This is under the intense, powerful eclipse that just passed, the full moon, total lunar eclipse in Pisces that addresses many issues, whether it be 2-3 years ago, September, October, November of 2023. I know that was a major shift for me 18-19 years ago, which I don't know what that 2006. Perhaps 2016 is, yes, also a major number for you. We do have the number 6 card here from James Eads, the Cerulean sequence, which is a really fun deck that I'm working with lately personally, and so I'm introducing it to y'all. This is there's a mirrored, you are seeing yourself. Let's just I've already opened the channel. Thank you so much for being here. Take only what resonates. Thank you for the likes. Thank you for the comments. Thank you to everyone who is new. Thank you to everyone who's been here along the way. I've had this channel for over 2 years now, about 2.5 years now. Still very slow growth, but I really just thank you for being here. I don't know what I'm thinking these days. I'm also human and I'm moving. Anyway, I ask that our guides of the highest, most brilliant, divine white light protect me, protect us as I channel and interpret for your divine. I'm gonna jump to the Sabian Oracle, and then you'll see me shuffle and gather these cards for you. So it'll be this memento experience. That's one of my favorite movies. Anyway, here I go. Gemini 22, the Sabian Oracle. Dancing couples crowd the barn in a harvest festival. By gathering together and celebrating, a sense of community spirit can develop where there is always something worthwhile to be celebrated, even if it's not your own success. The Oracle states this symbol shows the need to be in tune with seasonal rhythms and the natural flow of life. The harvest may mean many things. It can be the actual bringing in of a harvest, the birth of a baby, the first performance at school, a religious ceremony such as a communion or bar mitzvah, or a job well done. It is wonderful when people come together and warmly and sincerely congratulate someone who has good news without nagging feelings of jealousy or resentment. Wow. Tell that to the Taro community. I'm sorry. There is a need to get back to a simpler, conservative level of enjoyment where each and every person's achievement is everybody's pleasure. This can lead to an increased understanding and concern for the individuals within our community. It is possible for one person's pain to become everyone's care, whatever the feeling of a healthy heart and a healthy mind, while taking a break from the struggles of providing is what gives us the strength for the battles of life. Perhaps it's time to kick up your heels and dance. See if you can take some time out to enjoy your environment, the gifts of nature, and the people around you. Keywords here are celebrating the warmth and providence of the earth, the joy of nature's harvest, joining with others to celebrate the reality of rhythmical or seasonal adjustments, agriculture, good old time values, issues of pride in one's place, going out, having fun, listening and dancing to music, square dancing, ballroom dancing, etc., barns and dance halls. The caution is being the wallflower and not participating, waiting for a special invitation rather than responding to the possibilities available, resentment, isolation, going alone, false displays of community, shallowness, attention paid to only those who are important. James Brown, quote, "The one thing that can solve most of our problems is dancing." Proverb, "If in February there be no rain, 'tis nae good for hay nor grain." Wait, did I say that's a proverb? John Petitson, quote, "Not what we have, but what we enjoy constitutes our abundance." Romanian proverb, quote, "Out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaketh." Ovid, quote, "Take rest. A field that has rested gives a bountiful crop." Fred Allen, quote, "Most of us spend the first 6 days of each week sowing wild oats. Then we go to church on Sunday and pray for a crop of failure." It's really interesting to me to get this. This is the Reflections or Civilizations card. It's number 6 from the Cerulean sequence by James Eads. It's really cool. Obviously, the image is reflected, so it does mention or reference reflecting on either what you've taken, what you've given. It is in a sense about flowing. So the message about flow is really clear, especially with the Gemini last quarter moon, the Pisces full moon lunar eclipse. The reason I read to you Gemini 22 is because this is a last quarter moon in Gemini as we approach the next eclipse, which is a solar new moon eclipse in Virgo. Again, interesting, very blue. The Cerulean sequence is all blue, and then the Ace of Cups card is all blue as well, as you can see. So there can be the resonating message that I get is it can feel very adrift, like you're flowing, but there is a ask from your guides to surrender, to enjoy through surrender. So it may be difficult for you to see where you have flourished, how far you've come, whether it has been a success. Maybe you do still feel that you are in a adrift moment, or you are adrift, or you're flowing with it. And this, we also have the 7th house of partners, number 31. I'm getting ringing in the right ear, which for my masculine body, it means divine masculine. So you could be working with a lot of divine masculine themes. You could be interpreting divine masculine differently, or you could be in a moment of learning more about masculinity in terms of their tendencies, or in terms of how you can tend to your divine masculine balance. So the water element, the Ace of Cups, is about bringing balance to your emotional body. But there's a lot to say about resting, as in maybe we see the opposite of rest, which is to work, to go, to be active, as giving, but you're taking away from yourself. So this is really about truly reflecting on you, reflecting on your internal divine balance. That way you can show up and be active and give. So it seems like there may have been moments, especially in the last 2 years, where you have felt the word burnout is really out there. I will just have to say, I don't know how I packed, because I was in a highly stressful moment. And so I don't know why I packed the things I packed. I packed mostly blue, white, and black shirts and a bunch of jeans. And as of late, I'm only wearing shorts, but I'm wearing my jeans today. Why am I telling you this? I don't know why. Also, I forgot what other thing I was going to mention. It's sort of like it's already in my head, all these things in my head, all the things you said, what did I say? There's a sense of, so at the bottom of the deck, we have sense of self, number 1. So you can, in a way, you can feel like you're having to restart, refresh, which is the eclipse journey. This eclipse portal is about pressing the reset, refresh, regeneration. So it can be awkward, maybe not for our Southern Hemisphere peoples, but for a lot of the folks here in the Northern Hemisphere, we are entering the fall equinox. But don't forget to give to yourself, maybe as a message. Think less about how you will look, think more about how you will feel over the next few. And so I'm not saying you only think about the way you look, but this is certainly about the way you feel more than how you want to show up, as in you want to show up feeling good, and less the vibration or thought frequency of showing up and looking good. So for example, showing up and looking tired, that's like my thing. I don't like to show up and look tired, but in a way, I feel that I've had to show up and look worn out in a way. Maybe that's why I bring up my wardrobe choices and like how I packed when I left Denver. I just brand new. I don't know how I chose what I chose to pack, but it happened so quickly, and yes. Anyway, definitely it is about, this timing really is about determining why it is that you want what you want. Trust that there's a reason why you used to want those things and why you don't want them anymore, and trust yourself when you choose to want something new. Your desires now speak to you more strongly. So learning about how to give in this new way, yes. So it could feel very sad or depressed in a way where you don't know why you were giving to them, to that person, or to that energy, to that energetic field, or why you were, in another way, why you were coming to meet your self, your conscious self, your Christ consciousness, your manifestation, how you manifest. So the higher chakras, however you want to suppose that you speak to this. Some folks don't like the higher self, the phrasing of the higher self, but some folks don't even like divine masculine, divine feminine, like, or separating that from yourself, right? But wow, so speaking of soulmate, so it goes from Ace of Cups to Two of Cups because you are learning how to speak to your higher self, to your divine self, to your divine masculine. And when I say you're learning how to speak to that, you're learning how to tend to it in a way where we haven't really been taught, or maybe we learned it in a way where like those things are outside of us. But a lot of us, when we come to tarot, we realize that a lot of this story is within us. A lot of the heroines and heroes and the fool's journey, in essence, is all our own, and all of those archetypes are within us, and they are reflected in our harvest. What we reap is and what we sow, right? In our soulmates. Wow. So maybe looking at others as your mirror, there's something to say about this divine abundance. Be like you've unlocked a treasure that will translate into movement. It may seem slow at the moment. Okay. Can we get more symbols? Okay, wow, fire, water and fire. Focus. A lot to say about the opposite of Gemini, which is Sagittarius. You may have Sagittarian placements. This is a wild week that ushers in sort of our shift in focus. So the shift is happening, and then we lock in. At the end of the week, it's like we lock in, and then we may feel like we have to address the next steps, but allow that to flow, allow this kind of resurgence, allow the energy to center you. Perhaps the message here is not to allow it to quick fire. There's more to say about how you will use this energy to take you forward, and how you will not succumb to this huge release. So instead of a quick, fast processing, it's allowing the energy itself to take you with it. Okay. Definitely writing, healing the inner child, or healing while working with the inner child. So less shadow work. Okay, the pilgrim in the forest. Praying. Oh, look, I took another card too. Wow, the crone. That's Saturn, right? And then the box. So coming out of a way of looking at yourself, praying, hoping, praying, hoping, praying, hoping. Now the real work. Something about actually working something out. You got to work something out. Something needs to be worked out. Maybe you need work, maybe coming out of the box, coming out of this dark space, coming out of the dark time, you're really coming out with that. It's one of my favorite, the gusto, like going with it after having faced with the crone. It was in reverse. So this is Saturn retrograde in Pisces, Saturn retrograde in Aries. Don't worry, you're refining, and that's looking at your connection to God, which we said earlier. I believe it's just a reconfirmation of what we mentioned earlier, which is the reason we're in review and reset and regeneration is because you have looked at how you were participating with your manifestation power, however you want to see that. So you were working with higher chakras, speaking your mind, going out, meeting others, kind of in this collective whirlpool, enjoying society, enjoying what you may feel are the fruits of your hard labor. And the labor could be all referencing how you provide to yourself by being a social person. So providing to your social self. A lot to say about rest here, which was brought up in the Sabian Oracle. Resting is part of it. And I believe we jump back to that message because it is, socializing is part of rest. So are you working too hard for it? And realizing that portion, that part of the puzzle in that, when it becomes truly, it's like not being dedicated to yourself, learning when you're not being dedicated to yourself, and something about servitude. So serving yourself first, serving others too much. Wow, there you go. Fire, alchemy through this flow. Don't worry, we'll get to the release, card 27, which is fire. Interesting that it comes out against the blue. It does give me that divine feminine, divine masculine kind of your redistribution, rebalancing. I'm so sorry that my I feel like my nose is so noisy right now. Okay. The crone speaks. The crone is protecting you in many different ways against relationships or within relationships. So certain people dropping in and out, you dropping in and out, you praying for better. Perhaps you were led on a movement of some sort, moving, especially if you're in that Pisces zone, you're being asked to move. as my watch asked me to move. That's so funny. Yes. Don't feel left out. Perhaps you're counting yourself out, but don't count on that. Don't count on being left out. It's time to celebrate. You're looking internally first and determining where to go there from there. Perhaps there has been a halt and you're worried or concerned, but there should be no concern there because this is the time to take out to be with God, and God can be your higher self, your other self, your divine self. Redistribution there. So serving yourself, taking a rest from when socializing and when being social becomes more laborious and laborious, then you come back and you're realizing that there's something to take away from that, or in your many socializing over the last few months or the last year, especially, or the last 2 years, then you realize that you in a way you've prayed for this. So there's a lot to say about, I'm so sorry that I'm like not talking to the mic. There's a lot to say about what you've manifested, the strategies, Maybe you did have to protect yourself. Okay, yeah. Because you were getting a lot of, especially with the Ace of Cups and the reflection card, the civilization card here, Saturn whisked you back out. So there may be a feeling of loneliness, but this is because Saturn wants to, it's like cleansing, spiritual cleansing. Wow. I love it. Okay, we're going to clear up something, right? We do want clarity on, I want to know why the Pilgrim. Okay. So these two cards. Oh, the High Priestess and the Two of Cups, which we talked about that, right? Why the Pilgrim? Because you needed to reassert yourself, reassert trust in yourself. Perhaps you do reassert a lot of the trust in you through prayer, through meditation. But there's something to say about you knowing what steps to take. So we have the High Priestess and the Two of Cups, Venus and Cancer. This is about the summer. And then we have the Moon card, the High Priestess. Not the Moon card, but the High Priestess is attuned to the Moon, which the Moon right now is in Gemini. This is a last quarter in Gemini reading. The lesson is learned. I just suppose that that's a direct message to some. So you are in limbo, the High Priestess. You're between the worlds, but you're high up there. Don't become limited by this timing. It's not meant for you. You've learned a lot about soulmates. You're learning new definitions about soulmates. Why the Forest? Okay, many obsessions, addictions. Okay. Yeah, fumbling. No more. So there's no more. There's not a lot of need to declare. There's change. There's good change coming because it seems like a lot of these soulmates, perhaps, if you want to reference the Six of Cups as a soulmates, and less about looking back, less about nostalgia, right? Then the soulmates that you've come across, especially in the last 2 years, they've alerted you to how you keep yourself destabilized, how you emotionally become destabilized, and how you're emotionally entrapped, perhaps keeping yourself too emotionally. There's a good change coming, and I know it goes from like mental, emotional instability to financial stability. It seems like that there's a course correction or a tie in that way. Jupiter in Capricorn. You needed to see this freedom, this escape, this psychic joy, psychic experience. You needed to, Saturn and Pisces, man, you needed to see the psychic connections. You needed to experience the psychic network. You needed to see God. Maybe you don't even believe in God, or you're weary about planets and that sort of stuff. And it's here. It pushes you forward. You've experienced this magic. You are like, what you're looking at is celebration. Great. What you're looking at is no longer dealing. Look, 9 of Swords and 10 of Swords. Okay. You've manifested this ending to being involved with those people. Can I leave it that way? And then here you're like off to the next. And right now, this eclipse, the new moon and the tower, this eclipse zone, you're taking the challenge on, Page of Wands. So this fiery Sagittarius, you're like, I don't know where I'm going. Okay, what is that song? On the road to nowhere. You're on the road to somewhere, though. You don't know where you're going. Taurus, Burn, what's his name? I forget his name. But anyway, the moon card, Uranus and Mars. We are in the Mars hour now. It's like illumination of where you were too stuck, which was in a lot of these circles, in a lot of these soulmate issues, the soulmate times. I met this person, I met that person, they alerted me to this, they alerted me to that, and then you're like, I'm tired. It's been a lot, like I've been learning too much, or mirroring too much. Excuse me, Mars in Gemini, Sun in Gemini over the summer. Now here comes the change in this experience that is the eclipse portal. You're sort of like, it's not a whisking away, because it's like you're looking right at it. So it can't take you away if you are aware of it. You're actually going with it. You signed up for it, the artist. This is more Uranus energy, Uranus in Gemini. So there is a lot to say about flowing with it, saying yes to it, and then getting to work on it little by little as you come back into that mode, the refresh, right? Okay, wow. What do you actually know? What does the crone assert within you? Why in reverse, though? Huh. Because it still has to be, it's like the rollout. You're still processing a lot of it, okay? The Tower card is still there. I'm going to move these. You do have the Page of Pentacles and the Page of Wands. It's almost like the people around you are the extension of you, which seems to be the message. Even if they are your son, your daughter, your daughters, your sons, your children. But it's more like your assistant. God as your assistant. Ring, ring. Hello, you have reached the office of blah, blah, blah. This is God. How may I take your message? They're busy right now. I've given them this task. May I take your message? Okay, wait, what? The celebration, the wow. Yes, a birth of a new projects coming in. You're looking ahead. You're looking for that. That's what Saturn says. Get ready. Become emotionally grounded. You've experienced a lot. Are you ready to hone in? Really, time to hone in, right? The moon says continue to process this. Continue to go through this. The magus of light and power shows up. So bringing light to a lot of the situations, understanding where you were is not where you want to be. So continue to move through it. The moon card, the moon, Cancer, right? So yeah, Ace of Cups, Cancer. We have Cancer, we have Gemini, we have Cancer, we have Sagittarius. So the Cancer and Sagittarius, when Three of Wands is Sun in Aries. So we have a lot to say about the equinoxes, whether it's spring or fall. They're both harvest times anyway. So we have a Judgment card. We also have Seven of Pentacles. And then we have Seven of Wands over here. We have Three of Wands. But what I was going to say, though, is that when it comes to Saturn, Sagittarius, and Gemini, those are opposing opposites. But when it comes to Cancer and Saturn, or Sagittarius, I don't know why I want to keep saying Saturn. Maybe you have a Saturn in Sagittarius. This could be about your mother. This could be about a connection to your mother, starting a whole new relationship based on that, based on the experience with your mother. So maybe you are a mother and you're having a whole new experience with rebirth. So you coming to a whole new level of motherhood or a level of self-understanding after not to trivialize it or minimize it, but your experience as a mother. So I would see it as many checkpoints along the way, like for example, your son or daughter grow up to a certain age, and so that also shifts your experience as a parent, as a mother. Or even what we address a lot during tarot or in tarot readings, the psychology between the mother and the daughter, the son, the child. Okay, so you could be both the mother and you are also the child of someone. So someone is your mother, someone is your parent, all those things. Cancer and Sagittarius is about relationships, and this is about direction and will. So coming to not only humility, but an understanding through perspective shift, and also through growing up, basically just growing up, right? When we grow up, we experience these perspective shifts, hopefully, for the most part. It may take us masculines a little bit longer these days. Maybe we don't ever grow up, right? This is certainly not about like Peter Panning, but this is more so about realizing perhaps where you have let yourself. It's not really about letting yourself down, but it is about where you haven't worked on yourself because maybe you didn't feel, regardless, whether you didn't feel, you didn't think, you didn't believe, you didn't think about it. It's fine. We all come to our different points. And maybe if you're on the other end, if you're not involved in any of this, it's up to you also to acknowledge that some folks, it takes them a while. And like many of you may already know this, that it just takes some folks a little bit longer. Maybe you feel it took you a long while, but I think we all have that as a collective, individual society. We all come to realize, especially with the Three of Wands, wow, this is about you as an individual, but the Four of Wands is very much you coming into a new way in the community, or you coming to celebrate in the community after having been through something, right? The moon. Gosh, this is so beautiful. And then we have more blue. But with Sagittarius and Cancer, it is definitely about becoming aware of the frustration, becoming aware of that point of frustration, becoming enlightened to what you want to work on. So just because someone alerts you to it, just because you go through things with others, it doesn't mean that whoever you're with wants to work on that, or it's all these things. This is also outside of you, so it's intended for you to flow through it. The only surrender is to move through it. The only thing you must surrender to, the only true guidance is to not succumb, only surrender to the flow. Flow through this as you are coming out the other end of it anyway, okay? Don't become so fixated on you as an individual, right? Because don't forget, it's not about others counting on you. It's about others wanting you to be a part of their lives as well. The Empress and the Ace of Swords. Don't leave yourself out. Even if you may be far removed or feel like you are far away from others, or that you are really alone most of the time because you choose to be, regardless of all that. There are folks who do count on you. Oh, Two of Cups. Yeah, I mean, it's Ace of Cups, Two of Cups. This is like, this is the Lord of Love. What was the last reading about? It was about love, right? I wanted to say that you've been working on yourself. You have found a new version of you somewhere in the forest. There's a shining emerald like gem, and that is you. That is you, divine child. Okay, I can say divine child because you have been through some shit, right? You've been through the deep, dark forest. You may not see it yet because you're still walking through, and there's just this light. It's the full moon, but it's waning, and it's past the last quarter moon, and now it's becoming a crescent, right? But you are coming to realize that the sun, as it shines after this Ten of Swords, after the worst, you're realizing, okay, that's over. Where's my attention going? On this new sense of self, on how I do belong, and how I do want what I want, and perhaps now it's showing up differently. Surrender and go with that flow. Okay, little by little. Eight of Pentacles, Sun and Virgo. It's little by little. Don't become too fixated on all that attention, attention to one little detail, attention to one little thing. Can we read card 27? Fire, light, creativity, drive, purity, passion, and new opportunities. The element of fire can free you from boredom, clear karma, and give you the energy required to take action. Be warned, though, too much fire can also burn, so be mindful of utilizing this energy wisely by channeling it creatively. Meditate on this symbol with the assistance of a candle to inspire creativity, motivation, and passion. Candle work is really for focus, for you to center. It is really recommended at this moment. Perhaps it's best to allow change, the Tower moments to materialize, and then go from there, and not control the Tower moment, but allow fire, allow your attention and direction to be centered and focused. And that's where I can go back to the message about Sagittarius and Cancer, that it could be very agitating, and what you need is to center that fire. Like I always say, call the flame, call the fire, and bring it back to a flame. So adjust the levels, temper, and then lower, okay? Less fixation, more focus, centering. Okay, I like that. This was a wild message. I hope you enjoyed it. Hit like, leave me a comment. Thank you so much for being here. You've made it all this way. This was a little jagged, and it's very Gemini, I suppose, because the moon's in Gemini, so my mind's like, I'm very slow, but you know, I'm here, I'm giving to you. Anyway, thank you so much. Leave me a comment, hit like. Thank you for subscribing. You should subscribe if you made it all this way, right? Thank you so much. I'll be back very soon anyway. Ciao.